So I got this book from the 80s lying around. It's a card fortune telling with the twist. This dude, C. Thorpe, kind of compares ancient and modern methods, which is the concept in itself is what I've been kind of doing in my own kind of mind, and I guess in these video notes as well. So I'm gonna just read. I thought I'll put it on video since I'm pretty lazy to read, but I'll just read the introduction because apart from the title, there's some basic notions he puts forward that it's just like transferred the concept, just like comparisons of ancient and modern, and there's some notions that he puts forward that relates to all the research here. So ignore any background sounds you might hear. Okay, without any further ado, I'll probably take a sip of this beverage beforehand. Water. Okay. As with nearly all subjects of similar character, there is a diversity of opinion as to the real history of the art of divination by the cards. So I might put some commentary if necessary, I don't know. But as the first sentence reveals, it's generalizing about concepts of the subjects, similar characters. So basically, with esoteric stuff, diversity of opinion, especially as to the real history, keeps coming up. And in later videos, that's something I'm going to be examining closer, because what I've been doing here is seeing a need for, or a gap, or something missing, or something that needs probably, further definition, or even the opposite, needs more generalizing. So if there's a need for something in this arena, esoteric arena, I've pretty much been laying it down. And when I say missing, I mean like big time, like not just from my research, like from most of it out there. And if you come across something that's a bit vague, or just blaze over it, like in these video notes, also look at other videos, and there's usually something. If I've been too vague, or I've need to further examine it, I do go over it, because I sometimes watch my own videos. If I notice something, I'll just, or if there's a series, sometimes I blaze over it, so check out the playlist too. If I miss it in one video, I'll usually do a part 2, and I'll cover it usually there. So we'll continue with this second sentence. But anyway, this card fortune telling doesn't use the regular tarot card, it uses ordinary playing cards, which is something different, and I'll probably might do a layout, and we'll get into perception. It's because we're examining perception as a major part in all this, so we'll go we'll go beyond subjectivity and try and get to the core of what forces really do drive these, and why subjects of similar character, as the author says here, is why it's so varied and transferable, and sometimes not repeatable, possibly. It usually is. So, okay, sentence 2. I'll try and just blaze through the whole first chapter now. Zephyriel, for example, inclines to the belief that it is one of the oldest modes of prediction, and that it has been practiced in various ways from the earliest periods. Both the Chinese and the Egyptians, he asserts, had engraved metal plates or tokens, the former of copper and silver, the latter of gold, which they used for the purpose. The Egyptian plates, 78 in number, which is equal to the number of tarot cards, one of the modern, I think the Rider-Waite. So Rider-Waite, I think it was from the Golden Dawn even, and they used this chick to bring back, she was an artist, I think, if I know my Golden Dawn history correctly, and they used her to channel the Rider-Waite deck, so yeah, that's where it comes from, probably the Golden Dawn. So the Egyptian plates, 78 in number, were the work of the great magician Hermes and contained symbolic matter and numbers, a page on each of the great Hermetic book. The division of the book was into 2 arcanas, the major and the minor. The former contained 22 of the plates, and the latter other 56. It is said by Zephyriel that the Hermetic plates contained, in addition to the symbolic figures, astrological material of immense use in divination. The 12 signs of the zodiac, the 7 sacred planets, the 36 deacons, the 360 degrees, and their corresponding genii of the zodiac. These symbols entered into the construction of the hieroglyphs, which were the cards I'm gathering. Unfortunately, the complete original key to the mysterious Book of Hermes was lost, but some of the lore has been handed down orally, and some partly preserved by secret societies of initiates in all ages. So, handed down orally. So you get two groups, like the ones that are, most of it is oral, even in like the so-called more organized secret societies, like compared to say a gypsy one, where you'll find astrological methods hundreds of years old, kept just by handing it down. So anyway, thus we have today comparatively modern transcriptions of the more ancient ideas. Dr. Papus, a learned French literature, has produced the most exhaustive book on the tarot of the Bohemians. I think that's the gypsies I was talking about. This, he suggests, has been transmitted by the gypsies from generation to generation. Okay, I haven't even read that, so most of the stuff will back up my own research if it's got any worth to it, which is why I'm reading this. And these old books from the 80s, like about esoterica and even UFO accounts, like you have to collect them really and take note, because there's some of the more original, and with even news articles or any information, it's usually the original output by the media or whatever information source that's the most true. So that's a handy tip when doing research as well. Where was I? generation. The primitive book of ancient initiation. Okay, it contains, according to this writer, the explanation of the exalted philosophy and science of ancient Egypt. Mr. A.E. Waite, I think, yeah, probably a Golden Dawn boy as well, who writes a preface to the book, throws some doubt upon the authenticity of the historical details, but explains the closeness of the parallel between the symbolism of the tarot and the Hebrew Kabbalah, or hidden wisdom. This work of Pappas, says Mr. Waite, will appeal, inverted commas, will appeal only to serious students, and it will be worth their while to take up his elements and seek to construct them independently. Okay, so we're talking about alchemy. Another writer on this subject, Professor Foley, tells us that there is no authentic or verified history of cards going beyond the last 500 years, though he himself, in another place, refers to the prevalent belief of their antiquity in other forms. So that's what I was talking about at the start of this video. Other forms, transferring the alchemy of the concept to other devices and stuff. So this is why we study the ancient wisdom and concepts of alchemy, because it needs to be, for the time it's in, it needs to be transferred, because there are different moments. Now that doesn't mean, say, welcome to the desert of the real Hail Satan, like that, you know, that's just, that's, yeah, anyway, that's going with the flow a bit too much. There's going with the flow, and then there's just, yeah, debauchery. So, where was I? Foley, ordinary playing cards. Okay, we're getting to the nitty gritty of, so, as I stated, we're talking about just using ordinary playing cards for the tarot. Okay, if you're poor, you can't go out and buy the nice Fandangled angel cards or the Rider-Waite deck or anything like that. So just pick up a deck of playing cards, like yeah, you find one around usually. So ordinary playing cards as we know them seem certainly to have been derived from the Bohemian Tarot, but these in turn seem to have had an origin which is lost in antiquity. Foley refers to the Gypsy theory, carries the tradition back beyond Egyptian days to the early Hindus, and to a migration from them of a low caste through Egypt and so to the West. So I do describe bloodlines, and in these videos, check out the Da Vinci playlist, introduction to the code. It's all genetic. If you want to know about the specifics of the bloodline, yeah, it's all amongst my notes, like the viral bloodline versus, yeah, something more that is even beyond, genetics and bloodlines. So recent studies, and did I read those just now? Yep. Recent studies in anthropology and symbolism generally certainly afford some grounds for attributing the use of cards or plates of metal to very ancient times. Nearly all our customs have come down to us from very remote periods, In fact, all our laws are recently survivals of customs, the first observance of which is beyond all human power to discover. Professor Foley says, "It is certain that at first cards were called by the name Nabi or Nabi, and the Hebrew and Arabic words Nabi, Naba, and Nabad signify to foretell." So yeah, word that Naba or I is significant of foretelling and prediction. It is also widely believed that the idea of playing games with the cards was an afterthought, and that their original purpose was for the practice of divination. So that's something else I look at in these videos, is highly evolved concepts that human beings would consider like beyond their primitive thought forms, are just turned into games by some of these higher thinking beings that produce them, such as from the pyramids to simple vases. So anyway, and I analyze an ivory box from Tutankhamun's tomb. Check out that. And the mask is another one, the jade mask. Coming now to more recent times, we find several names standing out as popular exponents of cartomancy, whatever that is. Madame Lenormand and Atala are two of the most famous. Never heard of them. Each of these had a special method of laying out, which will be described later. It will be seen, however, that the significance of the cards themselves are very similar. Another method is that of Saphira, whose works on astrology are very numerous, profound, and dependable. Saphira bases his method largely on astrological basis. This will also be briefly described. I don't know if we'll get into that. I'm sure I'll make some commentary on once I do some layouts. Okay. Then there is the work of Pappus, to which we have already referred. It would be impossible to summarize this, but some details will be given. We cannot do better here than advise those who take the matter really seriously and intend to study it to get a copy of his work. Okay, so I can't even see the title. Dodgy camera. So yeah, books from the 80s. So in the next video I'll probably do some layouts. I'll ask some questions. If you want to ask a question, I'll do a layout and do some crappy layout. It's cool. Yeah, bust that out in the comments if you're brave enough. So it looks like there's some interesting layouts, some basic ones, and even got the Grand Star there, so you probably can't see it. So I'll stop the video there. So next 2 vids or so, and then I'm going to move on to some more perceptual stuff, because I think that's some of the most important thing. Everything comes down to individual perception, and it does depend on perceptions around you by other perceiving beings. So in other words, does a tree fall in the woods? I mean, if it falls, does it make a sound? Does anyone, do we witness it if no one's there? Well, don't know. Depends if anyone's been there before, like insects, animals around, they perceive us too. We all contribute to create the world with our perceptions. So we'll probably look at united perception or hive mind compared to the individual, and what other forms? Groups, possibly. Yeah, anyway, stuff like that. So 20 minutes.